Alright, it's time for another song title poem. The source material actually came at the request of a friend. We thought it'd be interesting if I could use certain titles, and I did, along with a lot of other things, because these people have been around for a good while. Not entirely sure if they're ever going to come out with anything new, but sometimes that's all you need. So I call this one "God Bless It and Help It." It can be really tough to live in the here and now. Said if one is haunted, said by their past and can't see a decent future because the fight for survival hasn't gone too well, and sadly, not everyone is meant to be huge winners at everything, leaving a lot of people too intimidated to find a better path to happiness where reality isn't so cruel. However, you can't expect a colossal Cinderella change of fortune. One problem facing our world is that hope either quickly fades or is promised to the wrong people to convince them there is an escape from their current nightmare while fooling themselves that anything glorious could happen, said with luck that it already ran out for others who wanted a simple life where children could be raised without sorrow. Yet the competition to discover the land of milk and honey was something more than a sick fantasy festering with every wretched soul still wanting to continue. Most of the blame for the illusion of obtainable happiness comes from Hollywood, said wanting to pervert the truth about the less fortunate because all the actors don't have sufficient perspective on struggles stemming from having too much work with too few hours and a meager wage that vanishes as soon as the check clears because another rainy day has occurred. And the happy movies rape the minds across the world with with happy smiles, said, and beautiful people who lack the capacity to weep. Such people aren't meant to provide solace as they live their golden lives with anything they desire at arm's length, while others could be out on the street at a moment's notice, scarcely knowing that such affluent people could have helped a one horse town get back on its feet. Yet such people are, let's say, from very different worlds, and those people live in the valley of prosperity, ignore, ignore the pain of those who were never given the chance to obtain good lives because said the Garden of Peace was stolen long before it began. Such delusions only get worse with time, and if some celebrity wants to study muskrat love to sound intelligent, and the rest of the population is doomed because unless they see California revisited with all the impoverished areas full of ordinary people who can't live high in the city surrounded by many friends, it's a where a hangover from fancy spirits is seen as a trophy and not a deplorable coping mechanism. Another source of misery comes from political poachers we elect and said to offer so many false promises and said that we believe will believe finally happen. It said, yet we only see the monster after the last ballot said has been cast. It said, and many have to say goodbye to the chance of getting anything done because it doesn't line the pockets of the super wealthy because there's no fortune to be obtained. No one from up high is eager to help. Politicians often don't see town and country people as the same, said because for every person meticulously studying to be a doctor, lawyer, or other prominent profession, more answer the call of the wild to get away from city life because they never found the time to see what else could be offered to remain said close to the changing world, or were just happy having three roses that didn't wither before they had time to grow bigger and produce seeds to bring more beauty. Said said while shimmering under a young moon. Even worse is that many still see America as a land of greatness, despite being stretched thin with the endless cries for help that will never slow down because the rest of the world sadly can't take care of themselves for very long, as Earth wasn't created fairly to be green everywhere with plenty of food to endure the rougher seasons and not live in fear of others raping the land, said in the dark name of progress. No one is meant to take on the world alone, as it's a giant place to explore, although much of the wonder has faded for some, and tomorrow is just another horrid repeat of the previous day, or an arduous journey of working for a company that doesn't care mixed with people who never notice the poor souls trapped in the cracks because they don't want to see the view from the ground after being put on a pedestal, are afraid of what might happen instead if some can finally even the score of intense misery. In time, everything that was once good will be fallen, off the world into the ether, as the only proof that there was once life on this miniature speck in the grand universe that seems to have let Earth go unnoticed, as there isn't much to be done to the last few grains of sands in the dreaded hourglass from slipping away without giving the last holiday to remember what it was like to be whole. If we stop being so selfish, someday we'll know how to bring smiles to everyone. So when others look back at the pages of history, they won't see so many bleak moments as we came together to find something that worked so people can take a walk in the woods without without it being brutally cut down, or go down to the coastline to see the shimmering waters washing over delicate sand with soothing wind to remind us that our world is a gift and must be treated with respect in order to survive. To all the high and mighty, can't you see that people are suffering from not getting what's needed to scrape by, and anyone who loves you in spite of all your faults are even bigger parasites wanting to see who comes out on top to get the biggest homecoming to escape their fate while condemning others not quick enough to see doom approaching in a lost country that once held so much promise and peace, so it vanishes with wars that make the quiet inside of the soul erupt with a cacophony of dark feelings, that destroy from the inside, because only in your heart can you feel the effect of a world crying in agony. One explanation for why humans aren't perfect creatures, is that it's hard for the head and heart to be in control with other bodily instincts, leading to an all-around chaotic experience that causes an onslaught of problems as solutions appear as a last second, building up, building in like greenhouse gases that will sadly escape at the wrong time, driving many insane as they try to find some balance to to avoid further conflict, like this, like discovering the eye of the hurricane to find some peace before the storm moves elsewhere. No matter where you go, you'll be an outsider for a while. And some will ask, what does it matter when you haven't found a group? Because it's life, and it takes a while to figure out who we want to be seen within new groups, and how we carry ourselves to never be lonely, knowing better people are out there willing to help those who are lost in case love's worn out in other areas and we feel left behind. It's not easy trying something new. However, it's important that you don't cross the river until you feel truly ready or risk getting swept away. And even if you get down to the water and see that it looks very peaceful, you can't fight nature for long, because looks can be devious, like how Watership Down was animated to appeal to younger audiences, but was a nightmare in stereo, and said from copious innocent tears. I'm not sure, I'm not alone in feeling like I don't belong anywhere. However, all my life, I seem to find some temporary comfort amongst a few decent people, only to feel like the hollow, feel hollow like the poor Tin Man without his heart, because my so-called friends slip away, leaving me feeling like half a man who has sadly been broken more times than can recall. Make it difficult to ride on to the next day, where the same pain quickly returns because people tell me half-heartedly to give it another try, knowing it ends in anguish. People don't see me as an equal, and even if I was the last unicorn untamed by mankind, no one would choose me without some complaints of being inadequate, leaving me a horse with no name and a very unfortunate birth defect to complement the many colors adorning my hair, to be seen only as a gloomy gray, because it's human nature to ignore those who are different in case things turn out to be a total catastrophe. However, it really hurts not being given one chance to share a bit of my life to strangers. Like most people, the early days said of a new venture always seemed so promising, only for the steady decline of enthusiasm, reminding me happiness is a deception. So on the way home, I feel hollow for not being productive. And while some good people say don't let it get to you, they don't know enough about me to know I'm plagued with various conditions. And I've heard the whispering of wanting me gone, said, said, as help won't come, said, because I asked, said, are you there to all the wrong people? Getting only silence. Even if I burn the midnight oil and find success after several lackluster hours, all the previous nights haunt me to the point where I'm crying in my sleep as my memories of failure come back to me with additional feels and regrets, forming darker creations because the Sandman wants me to suffer for as long as possible to go instead for the sinister hat trick of fear, grief, and hatred of myself for no longer being the prodigal son, unable to achieve say any rest until the sun comes up again and the vicious cycle repeats. This may be hard to hear, but I don't believe in miracles, as I can't remember the last time something truly remarkable happened with lasting value to make me hear the rainbow song that's everywhere to soothe damaged hearts. It said, yet mine said hasn't felt anything like that in so long that I may not recognize the chance to create a small slice of paradise to be managed with the rest of the world's sick tendency to keep many people like me on the border of temporary peace and frequent anxiety for all eternity. For anyone that has made it this far, I wish that you could look at me now, on the verge of collapse, with these strange words serving as my letter to the world, that not everyone has the best life, and if we feel trapped by expectations on both sides of the equation needing to be balanced, with a 1 in a million freak accident to let me know I'm not alone, and some serenity, and so it will come right back to me. So to be an anchor for the future, knowing the wheels are turning away from sorrow on the difficult journey. I don't want to be alone, but I'm afraid of living moment to moment with people who can't be there to dispel darkness because they want to see said how love goes and abandon me at the first chance if a little weakness is too much. And I fall apart right before your eyes when life puts too much on my plate with insufficient time to process, on top of being seen as a mad dog that needs to be put down to save everyone else from the shame of trying to temper the molten love of a man who feels like a mistake. All I can say is, in the end, that my hidden talent has sadly revealed more of my pain to good people. So to see I have left, said to see who I have left to trust, and with while this piece was difficult, to each his own method for dealing, said with life, said, and we all need a mental hideaway to feel we're still important, and said to hold on to the memories that brought us the most joy instead of being trapped in the sea of misery that never seems to run dry. What happens next isn't all up to me because it's your move on how we continue, either together or far apart like so many before you. But no, I need you, as I fear the future will take away more good things in my life, and one morning I'll wake up to nothing left and won't know what to do. So please don't let me be lonely because while I can avoid people when needed, I still want to be around those who gave me a reason, said to make a dream come true by eh, by, sta- by standing in the brilliant light of friendship. So, yeah, it was a bit on the longer side, and not too many people probably would have guessed that one, but it was actually the band America. So, yeah, it's hence the reason why the whole God said blessed and healthy, because I really just don't know what exactly is left that can be done, because we're constantly going to war with someone. We keep having all these disasters, and we can't take care of everyone. And there are plenty of rich people out there that have everything more than they ever could use, but they're like, well, why should we help? I said help the less fortunate, because when we actually got hit by Hurricane Helene, everyone there were places that were hit so hard just by the downpouring rain. Uh, they lost people lost their houses, trees fell over, and the local river. You could practically have surfed on it. It was coming down that hard and fast, and just really wasn't anything else. But you never know who's willing to actually provide anything for relief. I mean, if they do provide something, they're not the kind. They're saying, "Well, this was a one-time deal, and so what if my $50 doesn't go farther, said than just a few people for a day or two?" And it's just really upsetting because you know you say, "Hey, I really do need help with something," and no one will give you the time of day. And a lot of my past friends, I haven't spoken to in a long time, and to be honest, most of them really aren't worth it. It just seems like, you keep trying to ask everything, over and over again. It's just like, well, I said, well, I said, it's not my, I said, you're not our fault if you're not in our inner circle. It's like, you never even told me there was an inner circle, and I just really don't care about certain things anymore. Like, unless there's like a total tragedy, I will say that is very sad and said, but I'll get on with my life because, well, you really weren't a part of mine, so don't basically cling to me like a wounded animal that needs a little bit of comfort, you know, because, they always just kind of say you gotta look out for yourself, gotta look out for yourself, but nowadays it seems like everyone says you have to put everyone else's needs far ahead of yours. And that could really make you feel like a failure because everything that you put into every you may never even see the slightest return. So hope everyone does well. Um, Please like and subscribe, and I hope the rest of your week is good.